And this helps to situate us. So we are hosting this event on unceded Mi'kmaq territory this evening. And in practice, this means that as an organization, as individuals, as a movement, that we support movements for land defense and Indigenous sovereignty and this territory and beyond. And we encourage others to do the same. We recognize that the ongoing impacts of colonization include a disconnect between us and the land, between us and the food and the people who grow our food. And so this ties in with the conversation that we're going to have tonight. And fostering these relationships is an important part of our collective work. So just as we begin, there's just a few things that I would share. So one, we are live on our social media channels. So just want to mention that we're going to be live for the remarks from our guest speakers tonight. And then we will close the live stream during the Q&A so that we can have a more private conversation. And just in terms of the flow of the event, so we're going to have our speakers come up and present or have a conversation. And then we will open it up to question and answer. Right before that, we'll have a few audio clips from other workers who've worked in this area previously. And then we will have small group discussions guided by these questions, which we will move closer to the front when the time comes. And then we're gonna hear from the groups what was discussed, what are some of the ideas that came forward, and then we'll close the event. So that's gonna be the flow of the event for tonight. And we have invited media to participate, but I think they mentioned that they're getting ready for the 6 o'clock news at this time. So in terms of their participation, we'll see if they're able to be here, but it would only be for the remarks at the beginning. The question and answer and the small group discussions would not be open to the media. So just to share that. And we do thank the funders of this event. So that includes Kairos Canada, So that's good. Okay. Oh, thanks a lot. I hadn't noticed. Okay, thank you. And Tabasa has been really active in supporting us to organize this event, to supporting with tech. So thanks to Tabasa. Woo, yeah. Thanks, Tabasa. And there's also Caitlin in the back there and Arturo who are also supporting. So yeah, thanks to them for supporting tonight. Awesome. So yes, so in terms of known as Legal Halifax Chipuktuk, our work is guided by principles of solidarity and mutual aid. And with our migrant workers program, we are engaged in support and solidarity with migrant workers throughout the province. And through this program, we primarily work with migrant workers in the agriculture sector and increasingly in the seafood processing sector. And we're part of the movement calling for full and permanent immigration status for all migrants. And we're going to talk about how immigration status leads to precarity for migrant workers and makes it difficult to access and exercise rights. So without further ado, I'm going to present our first speaker of the evening. So I invite you to come up if you would like. Nevin Jackson will be our first speaker of the evening. Feel free to have a seat wherever, or I will also share your bio to start off with. Okay, perfect. So Nevin Jackson is a lifelong resident of Truro who grew up in the west end of town known as the Island. He is husband to Lisa and 3 adult children. He is a retired school teacher slash administrator and currently under contract with the Educational Leadership Consortium of Nova Scotia as a diversity and equity specialist. He has been involved in various sports and recreational activities throughout his life, as well as supporting various nonprofit and recreational groups in the area. Welcome, Nevin. Thank you. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Stacey. I'll stand if you don't mind.
Perfect. And we also have a mic.
Okay. Can everyone hear me, or do you need for? Yeah. Thanks again for that introduction. When Stacey contacted me a month or so ago, I wasn't quite sure of the initiative, but it sounded like a very good cause, and wasn't sure what I was getting myself into. And I started to panic a little bit when she said, you got about 5 or 10 minutes to tell us all about the settlement of Blacks in the Truro area. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, that's a lot of pressure in 5 or 10 minutes, so I'll try my best. Similar to your acknowledgement, Stacey, I certainly would like to acknowledge my ancestors who hail from Africa, especially the west coast of Africa. I wouldn't be standing here today if it wasn't for their struggles, their hardships, their tremendous resiliency, and the contributions they've made throughout North America in building our society we have here today. And I'd like to also pay special tribute today to a group of folks that I'm connected to in terms of ancestry. That would be the arrival of the Trelawney Maroons in 1796 in the Hell. Although they were only here for 3 or 4 years, they certainly left their mark on the landscape of Halifax, especially with contributing greatly to the construction of Citadel Hill. And although most of them left by the year 1800, a few of them did stay behind, and their legacy lives on here in Nova Scotia. So I always like to include a little bit of history and a little bit of tribute to open up any presentation. So I thought it was timely to acknowledge the Trelawney Maroons, who certainly made their mark in the late 1700s. In terms of settlement in the Truro area, we have a couple of folks in the audience that I hope will add to the conversation, because they are lifelong residents here, and their ancestry dates back to at least the mid 1700s when it comes to the Colchester area. I'd like to acknowledge Wayne Talbot and Marie Frances Jones, who's here today, and I'll probably hint on a little bit about their family here today. But again, I'm always mindful of the time as well. When you talk about the settlement and the existence of folks of African ancestry, Blacks in the Colchester area, I guess similar to most of the settlement in Nova Scotia, you could trace it back to a couple of major waves, whether it be the result of the War of Independence in the United States. We had a large group of Blacks arrive here in the mid-1780s, 1783 to be exact, and a few years beyond that, and started settling areas here. And another wave in 1812, just following the year of 1812 in terms of the conflict with the United States. So we had several folks that we call the Black refugees arrive from 1813 onward. And those folks' legacy lives on in most of our communities today. But you can also back it up a lot further than that. Our existence here in Colchester or throughout Nova Scotia, actually, you can trace back to the Fortress of Louisbourg in the early 1700s, and even before that. As long as there was settlement in this part of the country, in terms of colonial settlement, and even with our Acadians, we also can trace our descendants back in terms of servants or even enslavement. And there's certainly records that date back to the 1760s and earlier of records of Blacks accompanying them, probably forcibly, with the first planters, the New England planters that started settling here, especially after the expulsion of the Acadians and the land grants that were available to folks in New England and from across the ocean. So our existence here certainly traces back to hundreds and hundreds of years. And in fact, one of the first families to arrive here was the Jones family, who took up roots in the East Mountain area, the North River area of our county, and that would be Marie's descendants, the Jones family. Certainly great history associated with that family, and I could spend an hour just talking about their contributions. And the Talbot name is synonymous with settlement in Truro. It goes back again to the mid-1800s. So again, we have a lot of rich history here in Truro, and our settlement and our existence goes back hundreds and hundreds of years. In terms of Truro itself, we have had through the years historically 3 traditional Black communities, Black neighborhoods in Truro. We have an area of town that's more or less in the center of town, the north end of town, known as Ford Street. And that area of town started seeing a lot of settlement, especially in the late 1800s. Most of those folks there can trace their descendants back through Guysborough. In terms of the folks that first settled Guysborough and Antigonish counties back then and made their way across Nova Scotia, you know, through to Truro and to Glasgow and later on in other areas throughout Cumberland County. In terms of another settlement in Truro, in the west end of Truro, you have what's known as the Island, also known as Smith's Island and some other terminology that was used back in the day. And most of those folks can trace their descendancy back through Guysborough as well. And a lot of the descendants are still in existence there today. There are some names that have moved on that no longer exist here. When you talk about the Connollys and the Taylors and even the Ashes, who are early names, but names like Jordan and Talbot and Paris and Clyke and Bayard still live on here today. The third settlement in this area would be the Hill, also known as Foundry Hill. And earlier on, the south part of that hill around Doyle Street, the lower part of the hill was settled by blacks in the area. And most of that early settlement, again, those folks can trace their legacy or descendants back to Guysborough. And later on, there was a lot of settlement, the upper part of Yonge Street, which was a mix of folks coming from Barbados and Bermuda, parts of Virginia, St. Lucia. So there certainly was a great mix there as well. And the black folks in town, the majority of them at least petitioned or at least made efforts to become or at least create their own church. And we still have that church in existence today, the Zion Baptist Church. And they gained their independence right around 1796, in the fall of 1796. And within 5 or 10 years, actually had a church that was constructed. Earlier on, there were church services held even in the West End, the Island, and the community hall there, the first couple of services. And then later on in a few buildings along English Street, and especially in Queen Street, the corner of Queen and Revere, there were services held. And again, eventually, a lot of folks in Truro migrated to the Baptist Church. Not all, but eventually a lot of them did. A great many of them also practiced the Methodist faith and attended the Methodist Church here. And also folks practiced the Catholic faith and so on and so forth. So lots of rich history in the town of Truro. It is hard to sum it up in 5 or 10 minutes because I'm really jumping around and leaving a lot of things out. And our communities today, you can still see a semblance of those 3 communities today. We still have at least 2 or 3 households along Ford Street. And one of those households are occupied by a Jones lady, Marie's sister, in fact, Lynn Jones. And Marie is here tonight, as I mentioned. We also have Frances Collins, who has a household there. And there's also a Borden family that still exists there today. However, I have to be real with you tonight. That community is just a shadow of what it used to be through urban development, or if you want to call it gentrification, whatever term you want to use, which is very, very unfortunate because it was a very, very vibrant community, throughout the years after settlement. And again, that community has slowly, lost a lot of its identity, through urban development and through development. So we also have, as I mentioned earlier, the Hill or Foundry Hill, and there's been a lot of development there as well. And folks have been displaced. There are still a great many residents scattered throughout Yonge Street. The west end of Truro, as I mentioned earlier, the Island, also referred to as Smith Island, and earlier on Birch Hill with you. There seems to be a resurgence actually of black folks settling in the area, especially younger folks building homes. And through the years, it's remained primarily intact, and some would say actually thriving. So I'm certainly very happy about that. I am a Island, and Wayne Talbot, whose descendants first settled there, still in the island, his home. Again, lots of rich history in the town of Truro when it comes to Black settlement. And this meeting tonight, I guess, is about solidarity, about supporting folks and creating solidarity. And I have to say that there's certainly a semblance of that even amongst our Black communities today, where we're trying to, enhance that solidarity and reconnect and reestablish a strong sense of community and connectiveness. So, people have been making strong efforts to do that, even on our front today. And one of the things that I'm sure might come out of tonight is how we can stay connected as a group and even support those who have ancestry that's common to ours. And in fact, it was Wayne who commented not too long ago, and we had a conversation about needing to do more for those folks that migrate here for employment purposes that are in the West Colchester area, because we realize that we need to do more as a Black population in town, because we do have that common ancestry and that common bond. There may be some difference culturally, but we have that strong ancestral bond that is very strong and something that we should be connecting with more. So again, I tend to ramble on a lot, and I do thank you for your time. If folks have a few questions, or if Marie or Wayne would like to add, I know I left a lot of things out, but again, it's great to be here tonight, and we're looking forward to contributing. So I'll leave it up to Wayne. Thank you.
Thanks, Nevin. I'm not going to take very long at all. I'll just say that Truro didn't accept the Black community with open arms. We had a lot of struggles. Number one, our communities were on the periphery of town, as the other 51 Black communities across Nova Scotia are. But not going back that long ago, when I was a school kid, we were not allowed in the pool hall. Fletcher's restaurant, which borders on the island, we were not allowed in the dining room. You could not get a haircut. The female students at Willow Street School had separate bathrooms for the Black and white students. And we're making some progress. We never had a Black counselor before Raymond Tynes. He served 3 terms. I'm on my 2nd term and currently the deputy mayor. So we're making strides, but we still have a long ways to go.
I would be remiss tonight if I didn't mention a lady that's had been very influential in terms of celebrating, acknowledging the rich history of Truro's Blacks and Colchester's Blacks. And although she's passed on, I usually try to acknowledge Donna Bayard Seeley, who painstakingly established a great reference for folks in terms of being more familiar with our existence here, which without the Zion Baptist Church would be a shadow of itself today. So the book that she's responsible for is called Colored Zion, and it's actually held in the archives in prominent museums in the United States. A great reference, and you can tell by the look of it, it's not in great shape because I go to it often. Not easy to get your hands on, but Donna Bayard Seeley, again, her picture's in the back here, and she's certainly an inspiration to all of us, and certainly myself as I get more interested in my own history here in Colchester. So certainly wanted to mention that tonight.
Thank you so much, both of you. And as was mentioned, tonight is about building solidarities between communities. And so thank you so much for starting our conversation off tonight with situating us in the history of this place that we're currently in. And yes, so I know that it is a challenge to sum it up in a short amount of time. And yeah, so thank you so much, both of you. And also just to as we have here, one of our key messages for this evening is migrant workers are part of our community. And so this is an event, the second in a series that we're hosting around this theme of how can we be good neighbors to migrant workers, or good neighbors to each other. And so we're really excited for this conversation tonight. And just to provide some context for the evening, I just wanted to share a few points around the farm work program. and migrant workers in Canada. But also I will try to be very brief. And so just for context, so each year there are 50,000 to 60,000 migrant workers that come to work in the agriculture sector in Canada. And they're the heart of the agriculture industry. Without migrant workers, the agriculture sector would not operate. And so I think that's important to recognize. Also, most agricultural workers are part of the Seasonal Agricultural Workers Program, SOP for short, which is under Canada's Temporary Foreign Workers Program. And under this program, so Canada has an agreement with Mexico, Canada has an agreement with Caribbean countries. And the workers that come through this program all have the same contract. And in Nova Scotia, it's estimated that there are about 1,500 migrant farm workers who come to work in this province, including in Colchester County. And in the SOP, that includes Mexican and Jamaican workers who come to work in Nova Scotia. But there are also migrant workers from other nationalities and other in the agriculture sector, seafood processing sector, as well as other sectors. So some key parts of the SOP program that are important to know. One is that migrant workers have closed work permits. So this means that they're tied to one employer. So they cannot simply choose to work with another employer. And this, we can see if there's a situation of abuse, this puts workers in a difficult situation. They can't simply decide to work somewhere else. In terms of the length of stay, migrant workers come to Canada for a maximum of 8 months per year. And many workers come year after year in the same communities, but also sometimes in other communities. And I've met migrant workers who've been coming to Canada for up to 30 years. So or regularly meet workers who've been coming for 10 years. I'm sure that, that some of you know workers who've been coming here for a long time, for many years. Migrant workers do not get to choose their employers and even what part of the country that they'll work in. They must generally live in employer-provided housing. So oftentimes the employer is their landlord. There is no pathway to permanent residence from the farm work program, regardless of how many years you've been coming on the program, unfortunately. And there are many barriers to applying for permanent residence. In addition, you cannot bring your family when you come here. So you're oftentimes far away from your family and home community. And in terms of access to rights, so on paper, migrant workers have the same rights as anyone else, but in practice, that's not the case. So for example, if there's an issue with pay, for example, unpaid work hours, we can generally make a labor standards complaint as Nova Scotians. If we are asked to do unsafe work, we could speak to our employer, and if the situation isn't resolved, we have the right to refuse unsafe work. If we're injured on the job, in many cases, we have the right to apply for and receive workers' compensation. However, these sort of complaints-based mechanisms don't work well for migrant workers because if they access these rights, they risk being fired, returned to their home country, and not called back again. So, as I mentioned earlier, temporary immigration status is what leads migrant workers to be vulnerable. And so this is why, as an organization, as a movement, our key demand is for full and permanent immigration status for all. So I just wanted to provide these words in terms of context for some of, just for your information, because I know I oftentimes hear from people that they don't know about this program. And so just to share information around the program. So with that, I will turn it over to our two other guest speakers for this evening, and I'm going to share a bio of each of them. And yeah, maybe I will read the bio and then invite you to come up. Okay. Or if you want to come up and then I can read it. Sorry. Thanks. Feel free to sit wherever you would like. Oh, yeah, or stand. Thank you. So Stacy Dlamini is from Pictou, Nova Scotia. She is the wife to Boul, a mom to 4 great young people, and a grandmother too. She has a background in community development and project management and has worked in these fields both in South Africa and here in Nova Scotia, the Salvation Army, and her faith inspires her to pursue justice and build relationships with people who are different from her. Marvette Sharp Plummer is a mom to Delmar, who is 11 years old. She has been coming to Canada on the Seasonal Agricultural Workers Program from 2016 to 2021 and has spent all those years in the Colchester County. In 2021, she was able to apply for and has since received permanent residence in Canada. She is a dedicated Christian who enjoys worshiping God and studying his word. Welcome to both of you. We're so happy to have you here tonight.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm here to just share my experience as being a farm worker here and what I have experienced in Colchester here by being here for the 6th year. I'm original from Jamaica. I was there as a housekeeper. I was also work as a dining room attendant. But the situation in Jamaica was a little bit challenged to meet your, economical needs. And so I tried to seek employment like here, and I got through to come to Canada. When I got through to come to Canada, honestly, I was so excited because I'm coming to Canada. I'm coming to work and all of that. And I was excited to come. In Jamaica, it's a little bit challenged. The situation is there, job-wise, is a challenge for us, as there are a lot of persons there who who came on the program, who have education. Some are nurses, different fields, waitress, teachers. But because of the situation in Jamaica, it's a lack of jobs, and so for us to travel overseas to different jobs, and so I ended up here. And being here, I must say, Canada has been a blessing. It has been a blessing. Through coming up on Canada program, regardless of the challenge, regardless of the situation, it has been a blessing for me because it has helped me to fulfill some of my heart desire as a single parent to take care of my son, also to help my family back home. I can able to work and send back money back home to help with my son, also with other siblings. Being here in Canada, working as a farm worker, it has been a challenge. It has been difficult. There were times in the field, you cried. It's hard work. We work like 6 hours on your knees. We do strawberries. We pick strawberries. We do tips. We do a variety of things. And it's hard. It's really hard. It depends on what we are doing that day, because some of what we are doing, you cannot do it in the rain because we can pick strawberry in the rain. But other things, like, we have to work in the rain. So you will be like working throughout the day, hot and sweaty, and the rain will just come down on you. And depends, as I said before, what we are doing, we cannot come out of the rain. I'm talking about we have to work in the hot sun. We have to work in the rain, and it's hard work. We get like a few hours, like 15 minutes for break and 15 minutes for lunch. You cannot like take a 5, or you cannot, being tired, you would hear you got to go back in the field because you can't hear taking a break while others persons in the field are working. We have been, I would say, name calling. They when we come to work, and because it's a job that you have to work to pay yourself, you cannot be a person like come and just log on the job. You have to work at a speed in order for you to get in order for you to fulfill the the minimum wage in time. And so you have to work hard. And as I said before, it's a need job. You have to work on a need. And some of the field, it's very long. It's over, I know by feet. So it's about like some 150 feet long. And you have to work on your knees. It's on your knee and your back. And it's hard work. Us, we see it as an opportunity to come because it helps us to earn something so that we can go back home and, see our plan come to fulfilled. We can fulfill our plan back we have in Jamaica, but it's a hard work. Being here in the town of Truro and all of that, I have some really bad experience with community members in the stores. My friends were called black bitches. We were called like some name that I really don't want to say. I remember my own experience, went to the store and I said to the person, I was cashing some clothes, and you want this fancy bag, and she was putting it in a plastic bag, and I said, yeah, Miss, can you just put it in one of those bags, because we are like kind of fun with the bag. And I have the clothes in my hand, and she just grabbed it away from me. I remember we went to a specific store, and getting back the change, she put it on the counter. I remember I went to I'm talking about my experience, what I've seen with my own eyes and experience. We went to a specific store, I won't say anything, and I was there looking at the cooler because I love vegetables. So, it was there spotting out what I need. And I realized this person every time I go down, she just keep moving. So I was like, what? So being the person that I am, I kind of noticed what was going on. So I tapped myself and I got on. I see she move and I tap a little closer, and then I see she just push her Charlie and she just ran with her child in the supermarket, and I was there just laughing. I said, oh.
Because she had her purse in it, right? She had her purse in her trolley. And
yeah.
she was moving it, yeah.
So and I also remember like going so many things, so many occasions, so many things. And the thing is that we want to maybe say something, but we cannot. Because if we do say something, even though if we are right, we would be looked at making trouble. We'll be coming like we are troublemaker. And so because of that, we just keep back some of the disrespectful that we experience. I remember going to this fast food drive-through, and I said it was two of us into a taxi because I was coming from physio, because right now I'm experiencing an injury from off the farm. I have a low back injury. My hands, every part of me right now been experiencing pain. I've been suffering. And I remember coming from physio, and I was very hungry, and it was two of us, and I drove through one of the fast food places, and we placed our order, and I said to the individual, it's two different orders. I said, this one is number one, this one is number two. And when we drove up to the window, I said she pushed out the cashier machine for us to pay for it. And I said to the individual, I said, remember, this is two order, and which one is, am I paying for? And she grabbed the machine and she said, you effing rude. And I was like, what? And I'm telling her, she slammed the window. You see, she slammed the window, and it was so very disrespectful. And this is what the taxi lady said to me. She said, oh, they are under a lot of stress. And I said, we got stress, but we don't come to the field and we display our disrespectful to anybody. We come in, as if you notice, we as farm worker, when we enter into that supermarket, we are so happy. We are so excited when we enter. If you notice, when we come into Walmart, all of us, maybe we just talking, we just happy along the way. That's how we behave. We don't trade our frustration on anyone. And it's so, I would say that being as a farm worker, and what we have experienced, I wish if I could just say some of the things that we have experienced from our boss, from the people that's supposed to protect us, who's supposed to shadow us, who's supposed to watch us, who's supposed to see us, being treated good, and we are not being treated good. And so sometimes if we could just come out and feel appreciated, and feel welcome, and feel that what we are doing, even though it isn't, I would say it is not our choice, because if we could have a different pathway to come to do this work, maybe we wouldn't come do this. But because of the situation back in Jamaica, and because of our ambition, and because of what we want, and because we want better for ourselves and for our family, that's why we come here. And honestly, it's hard work, but we love to be here in Canada. And so it would be good if when we come, and we now and again here somebody will say hello, how are you? How are you doing? How is things? You have few person will stop by and said, where are you from? I like your accent. Thanks for what you're doing. We pass and we see you working in the field. Thank you. And if we could get, more of that, it would be more encouraging for us, as farm workers.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that, Marvette. I just want to make clear how it came to be that Marvette is here and has really the freedom now to speak about her experiences. Last year in 2021, the government opened, they said it was a COVID-related program, but they opened a pathway to permanent residency for essential non-healthcare workers, which for the first time since the 1970s included agricultural workers on the SOP program. So from 1974 until last year, there's never been a pathway for people like Marvette to make Canada their home. For 3 months last year, they set a quota of 30,000 people, not all farm workers. There were about 100 different jobs that qualified under this stream, but 30,000 people or applications was the cap. To our knowledge, and Stacey and I have talked about this, Marvette's like a unicorn because she is, to our knowledge, the only Nova Scotian farm worker that successfully applied and got through on that program. The program snapped shut mid-July last year, and according to the government, it's not to be opened again. And so we are pressuring the federal immigration minister, who happens to be our now member of parliament, to say, look, we need a pathway, a permanent pathway to permanent residency for SOP agricultural workers. It's only fair. And so that's how Marvette got to be here. Otherwise, she wouldn't be free, really, to speak about her experiences. My name is Stacey, and Marvette's become my best friend in the past 4 years, almost 5 now. And I just want to kind of explain how that came to be. So I'm from Pictou County, and I grew up in Pictou County, and I've been really blessed in that my life has been profoundly influenced from a young age by people of African descent from across the African diaspora. It's a long story how that happened, but started when I was 4 years old, and my pastor was from Bermuda. So the first Black person I ever met was in a position of authority and power over me and over my family, a position of respect. And so I grew up with that. I grew up thinking that was everywhere. I just thought that was how it was in the world, until I learned that it wasn't actually a usual experience. In university, I hung out with kids from the Caribbean, kind of inserted myself into their friend groups and so on. And then after university, I moved to South Africa, and I married this gentleman over here, Buhle. His language is Zulu, And I lived in South Africa for 13 years. We have 4 children. So my husband and my children are South Africans first, and they've since become Canadians as well. And everybody's here now. But all these experiences shaped me in some really fundamental ways. It affected the food that I eat and like. It affected the music that I listen to. It affected how I feel comfortable to praise God. It affected like even like how I mourn, you know, when I lose somebody. Like I've been changed and enriched in so many ways because of this. So when my family moved to Canada in 2013, you know, we were embraced by my family. My mom's here, my nephew's here. You know, we have a church family. Like we had relationships already because I'm from here, but we were lonely for that. I don't know how to explain it, that vibe. You know what I'm saying? We missed, you know, certain foods. We just missed that fellowship, that like Africanness. I don't know how to say it any other way. And so, you know, but life goes on, and we were just going on until we drove through a community here in Colchester County, and we just saw Black people everywhere, you know, driving bicycles and walking on the side of the street, people who looked like Marvette. And I was like, we were all like, our children were like, what is this place? Like, where are we? This is so cool. When we got to where we were going, we mentioned this observation, and the person said, oh, those are the Jamaican farm workers. You don't know about them? And no, we didn't know that they existed. And so we were so excited. We were like, please hook us up. And so my relationship started completely on you know, socially. Like it was completely social. We were excited to know them. We figured that we probably had some things in common. And I was attracted to them like a honeybee to a flower. I don't want to lie. Every week, my little car would be driving up from Pictou as my friends would say, hey, I cooked something. I got some extra. You want leftovers? Yeah, I'm coming for leftovers. And so back and forth I went. And so initially, it was all about friendship. I remember I made some assumptions in those early days. And one of my assumptions was that these women probably don't have children, because how could you leave your children for 7 or 8 months a year? Like nobody would do that, right? And then when I learned that, in fact, most people do have children, and that they've sacrificed to leave their children for 6, 7, 8 months of the year so that they could afford to send those children to school and hopefully with time build a better life, that blew me away. Like, wow, what a terrible assumption I made. What a sacrifice these people are making. And so initially my relationship was cookouts and concerts, church. I remember I met Marvette because a church service was arranged and she was preaching, and I was invited to play keys, to play keyboard. I guess they thought I knew some of their songs. Some of them I knew, some of them I didn't. But I was invited to play keys, and so I met Marvette on that night. And I remember I also made some assumptions about Marvette too. The first time she was in my car, she said, do you want me to go get some music for the drive back to Pictou? Because we would go back and forth, you know, and I'd take people back and forth. She's like, you want me to go get some music? And I love reggae. I'm like, yeah, please go get some CDs, you know? And so she ran inside and she came out with all these CDs and she was so excited. And I looked at them and it was like, Leanne Rhymes and like country music. I'm like, are you serious? Like, this is what you listen to? Again, assumptions we ought not to make, right? About people. Maybe I don't fit into people's assumptions of what I should be like coming from Pictou. Why should she? Who did you say? Travis Tritt. Yeah, anyway, she had all these CDs. Yeah, and so our friendship grew like that. But you know, if you care about people, through getting to know them and through these social relationships, I came to understand like what Marvette's referring to, like how difficult and challenging some of the aspects were of their lives here. And so people started coming to me and saying things like, I've been injured on the job. Like I'm in pain and no one's giving me any medical attention. What do I do? And so I don't know. What do you do? I don't know. I had to figure this kind of stuff out on my own, and I would phone and I would, you know, find out like who does what. And so I was sort of thrust into the position of being a navigator, if I can say it like that. You know, oh, you know, we're supposed to get these breaks and we're not getting them. Is there anything that can be done? But I realized very quickly in my work as a navigator that I couldn't move any faster than the people that I was supposed to help, because I'm all about justice. And I want to go nuclear, you know, like when I see situations of injustice, I want to blow it up. Like I just want to get in there and fix it, right? And that's the way I'm wired. But I had to realize that for people like Marvette who are on this program, there's a constant driving fear of being sent home early or never being invited back. And so it's easy for me to go and complain to so-and-so about an issue that a specific person is facing, but the consequences aren't going to blow back on me. They're going to blow back on them. And so I had to learn to move maybe at a slower pace than I would want to, but to move at the pace of the people that I was trying to help. I've heard it said by some community members in Truro that, you know, these farm workers, man, like, they're so rude, you know, like they're just, they come in and they don't talk to anybody. They don't return our greetings. I just want you to know that if that's the case, if a Jamaican or any Caribbean person does not return your greeting, you know something is up there, because fundamentally it is a very important part of people's culture in all throughout the Caribbean and throughout the African continent and the diaspora. Respect is a fundamental cultural value, and greeting is a fundamental sign of respect. So if that's not happening, you got to know something's going on. There are farms here in Colchester County where farm workers are forbidden to speak to us, where they can get in trouble. They can get sent home, you know? They can get not invited back just simply for starting a relationship with us, just for knowing, wanting to know us, wanting to know us better. That happens right here. Like, I'm not making this up, you see? And so, so in my time in building these friendships, my life has been enriched a lot, but also I think that when it comes to being a friend to farm workers, I think that, you know, the navigation piece is very important, but what people seem to have expressed to me that they appreciate so much is the friendship and the emotional support. And anybody can do that. And as Marvette has said, like, it's just important to say, hello, nice to meet you. Thank you for what you're doing here for us. Just that can open a door, can open a conversation to knowing people a little closer. And when you know them, you care about how they get treated. And so I'm hoping that, that what comes out of this tonight is a firmer commitment, not just for Colchester County, but for all of Nova Scotia, to want to welcome and to show appreciation to people for the very hard work that they do, so that we can have those strawberries come July for $3.99, and not $10.99, because that's what they do for us. And so yeah, thank you to Marvette and to all the people who are watching this live stream right now. I just want to say that we see you, and you're not invisible. You're not invisible to us, and we care about what you do. So thank you very much.
I was in New Glasgow a few weeks ago because I was trying to get some clothes for the girls that was coming up earlier. And Stacey and we went to Valley Village. I was trying to get some stuff, and we didn't get as much as what I want. So Stacey drive me back, and I went back on my own. And while I was it was Frenchies. It looked like I was lost. And I saw this lady with her son, and she said, hello. And I said, hello. And she said, are you okay? And I said, no, I'm not okay. And she said, what happened to you? And I said, I'm trying to find it was Frenchies I was trying to find. Yeah, I was trying to find Frenchies and some place where I could get some clothes. And she said, okay, I'm a little bit busy, but follow me. And she drove me around and around and around. And she bring me to Salvation Army where I didn't know. Bring me to Louise. She bring me to other places where she buy the clothes. And she sat there and wait on me until I was finished. And and she's white. And it made my day that day. And until today, now and again I text her and I said hello, and she texts me back and said hello. That's the community. That's the example that that we should follow.
Yes. Oh, maybe. Sorry. I'm just wondering. So we have two audio clips that we want to play, and then we want to do the question and answer. But if you want to maybe give a quick response, and then we can move on to that.
Yeah, in other provinces, farm workers are covered by provincial healthcare plans. In Nova Scotia, that's not the case. But in Nova Scotia, they come into the province with private healthcare arranged through a private insurance company called Cowan. So everybody that arrives in Nova Scotia is covered by that healthcare. But the challenge is that if you say you're sick or you say you're injured, you're still very dependent on your employer to get you to the hospital or to get you to the clinic. And there's many cases of people that I know who have been sick and injured and said, I need to go to the hospital, and they're told, not even that happened to Marvette too. It said, not right now, we're busy. We can't take you today. They wait sometimes for days, even weeks for medical care. So the problem isn't that they don't have health care. The problem is access, because they're in far-flung rural communities. They don't have transportation. They don't have a way in. So that's the problem.
And I have an experience with my own self, with myself. I was in the field working. I started to feel this pain in my lower back. And I called her to my supervisor and I said, I'm not feeling well. Can you take me to the doctor tomorrow? And she said yes. And oh my gosh, she come back and said, nope, you're not going to the doctor. You're not going to the doctor. I'm going to put you on some light work and see what happened. I went on the light work the next day. And the next day I couldn't. And then as I entered the door, I said, oh, I can't do this. I need to go to the doctor. Oh my God. She shake herself. She stomp her feet. She behaved so badly that day. I felt so bad. And then after a while, she come and she bring me. And she bring me to the doctor. And she apologized. She said, oh, she was stressed and all of that. But it was hard for me. Not that when I went to the doctor, I constantly feeling, I was referred to the physio. I constantly feeling this pain. And what they were saying is that because I was on workers' compensation, they were saying, oh, she just want to be lazy. She just want money and all of that. That's what some of them were saying. And on the last day when I was supposed to leave the farm, my contract was up. I went to the hospital, and I'm not gonna be afraid to say it. I went to the hospital. I did a X-ray, and the doctor came and he said to me that the X-ray did not show anything. And I was, why? And I went to I got a second opinion, and that first X-ray showed that something was wrong with me. They ignored me, and until this day, I am feeling the effect of them neglecting me.
Thank you. Thank you so much, both of you, for sharing around your experiences. It's definitely really important to have you share your experiences. And I just wanted to share that some of the experiences that have been shared, they're not isolated experiences. And we hear from other workers as well. And there are two workers who did write to us, share that they wanted to share their experiences of working in this area. So we have two short audio clips that we're going to play. And I just want to say also, just to introduce the clips, that they are also powerful experiences that people are sharing, and they're also a call to action for us. So we're going to play those two clips. And also, maybe before we do that, I just want to say that, there's, in terms of the clips that are being shared, they don't name a specific farm, just for, just to share that for context, but they are experiences locally in this county. So Tabasa, would you be able to say those?
Yes, I would like to share. It's a no good farm because it's only look out for its crop, not for the people that works for them to provide the crops for the retail and the household to get, So they only see the nice fruits out there, but they don't know how many pain and suffering we've been through to get it to their doorstep, basically, It's not nice. They treat us like we're a slave, I was sick and I reported to them, and they didn't respond to take me to the doctor to check it out to see if anything was wrong with my complaint, on a doctor prospect. So they're only looking out for their self, It's not good. It's not good at all. So they need to change how they deal with people, because people are human. Each and every one of us is the same color blood that runs through our vein, eh? So you don't need to treat us less than anyone else, not because we are a farm worker. We are a human being. And without us, there is no crop. So that's the basic I would love them to hear of what we're experienced there. And I wouldn't recommend no one to go and for, because it is not appropriate. The housing is not appropriate. There are bunk beds and there's no dryer there to wash our clothes. We have to hang it up. Even if the time is closed cold, we still have to hang it outside. That's not normal. We are human. Treat us like one.
So just for context, we shared that this event is happening. We invited people to share if they wanted to around their experiences.
Hello, I am a migrant farm worker that worked on a farm in Nova Scotia on the last season. It was the most traumatic and terrible experience I ever had, which has left me injured, out of a job, out of a consistent income, and have just made my life a lot more worse than it was. And it has really taken a toll on me mentally. And I just want to let everyone be aware that migrant workers go through a lot when we come to work, and we really are just trying to seek a better way for our family and our children, and to ensure a better future for them. That's all we need. But it's just like, it's just like that's just asking too much. And we get so many used and abused by people who really just have more money and let their money get the better of them. And in the interim, we suffer a lot. So I I just want you guys to just look out for those migrant workers that are there. Look out for us, look out for our rights. We just really just want to have a better life. We just really want to make a better living. That's all we need. But it's just like, I don't know, somewhere along that line, I don't know. It's just that we just get so messed up. We just get so used and abused, and it really isn't right. So just look out for us, because we really just want to just make a better life for ourselves and our families.
Just want to acknowledge that those are really powerful experiences. We see some similarities in what people are sharing, also so often as well. Oh, yes, thank you. Yes, we see some similarities in what's being shared. We recognize that these are systemic issues, and yeah, definitely very powerful experiences that people have shared. And so we thank those of you who share their experiences. And as I mentioned, they're a call to action for us in terms of the importance of more support and solidarity locally. And that's part of what we're going to do today, is to have small conversations around what each of us can do. And there's some guiding questions that we'll be sharing with you. But yeah, before we move on, we do want to open up the space. If you have any questions for any of the speakers who have shared today, the floor is open, and we will have will we be having a mic moving around, or what's the setup? Yes.
No, there's cords.
Is that possible? Okay. Okay, yeah, thank you. So actually with that, we're going to close the live stream because we just wanted to have it for the first part of the event, and then we want to have a more intimate conversation. So thank you to everyone who tuned in live, and yeah, we'll close the live stream there.